a nice person, but she has no enthusiasm, no energy. You have no idea where she stands on anything. She was fabulous. Give her another hand. Thank you. I want to thank all of you for being here. Thank you, Mayor Derek Elias, for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you, Representative Ramon Alexander. Thank you.
Yeah.
You look like you belong in the legislature.
Oh yeah. Oh
I want to thank the mayor of Tallahassee, Florida. This is Fairview Homecoming Weekend. And so I understand I got to let you and him out because the football game starts pretty soon. We've got some members of Congress that are traveling around Florida working for Hillary. And they're with Al Lawson, the Democratic nominee for Congress here. They're coming. I think they'll be here. I want to thank Candace Knight and Tierra Ward for working for Hillary here. And I also want to say a word in behalf of Patrick Murphy, our candidate for the Senate, who's a good friend of mine. But I'm really glad to be in Quincy and in Gadsden County. When I came in, Sheriff Young told me that he had been impressed when Hillary wrote her book, It Takes a Village. He said, "You're in the village. We live together.
All right.
And we have each other's back." And so I want to say a little about that. I've been a little bit the odd man out in this campaign. I don't go around spending time dumping on Hillary's opponent, which is hard some days. I mean, there's so much material and so little time, but I just go around telling people why I think she should be president. And you know, her slogan is "Stronger Together," but it's more than a slogan, and it's more than a set of political proposals and policy proposals. It's a way of thinking. When this country started, only white male property owners could vote. Even most white men couldn't vote. It was hardly what you would call a democracy. But the people who started it were smart. And they said, they gave us an eternal mission. They said, we're pledging our lives, our fortunes, our sacred honors to form a more perfect union. Now that was, back when they said that, in the late 1700s, it had a very specific meaning. In plain 21st century English, it was, hey, we're not perfect. We are never going to be perfect, but we can always do better. And as long as we're doing better, we're going in the right direction. So now we've been through a campaign where one side basically says, I want you to vote on your anger. Well, there are reasons to be angry. Most people have been a long time since that crashed and haven't gotten a pay raise. There are people in places that have been left out and left behind. We got the first epidemic of prescription drug and heroin abuse, first drug epidemic in my lifetime, where the addiction rates are higher in small towns and rural areas than they are in big cities. There are places in America where people are afraid to walk outside at night, or afraid for their kids to go outside at night because of their race. They're afraid they won't come home. There are people whose life expectancy is actually going down, like in coal country. Only place in America, only time in modern history when the white working class is the only group where their life expectancy is going down. And if you read the studies, they'll say, well, they have higher rates of suicide and drug addiction, and women are smoking more, and they give you all these reasons. Those people are dying of a broken heart. You understand that, don't you? You feel for it. But America, for all of our troubles, is in better shape than any other big country because of people like you and people like us. It's really important to point that out. All over the world, the economy went off the rails. All over the world, the rich got better before everybody else did. But we still have the youngest, most diverse workforce in the world. We still have the best system of higher education in the world. We just got to make college affordable and re-dignify skills training. Let's give a hand here. These are all our members of Congress. They have come from all over America to ask you to vote for Hillary. We got one or two here from Ohio. They'd like you to go back with them and convince their voters to vote for them. Thank you. And Texas. She is only 3 points behind in the polls in Texas today. And listen to this. When I had the honor to serve, we did have the only period in 50 years when we all rose together economically, where we grew the economy from the middle out and the bottom up. But under President Obama, we just had our 79th straight month of job growth, and that didn't happen. Enough job growth. Last year was the first time when the other 80%, the bottom 80% of earners, their income started to go up again too. We are just as close to being able to rise together again. What I want to tell you is that for all this negative back and forth, we are the best positioned country in the world to soar and to lead the rest of the world away. Not only from this stagnant economy that they're suffering from too, but from a lot of these troubles that always take root when people feel they have no hope. The worst thing that can happen to people is not to be without money temporarily, is to get up every day, look in the mirror, and think you have no power to make tomorrow better than yesterday. We're going to change all that. Do it together. So there's only one person you can vote for that's come up with an economic plan that will put millions of people to work, modernize our roads and bridges and ports and airports and rails, and more to the point in the 21st century, will deal with the fact that there are 5 million children every single day that go to school in this country and get a homework assignment that they need to get on the internet to solve, and they can't do it because they don't have affordable universal broadband. We're going to give up. Well, you better say it now. We know that Flint, Michigan is not the only place in America where children have elevated lead levels in their blood because they're drinking water out of old rusty pipes. If you took them all up, you'd create a lot of jobs.
That's right, that's right.
You give all our kids a healthy future. We know America ranks first or second in the world in the ability to generate electricity from the sun, the wind, and other clean sources. But we also know not every place is Florida, where the sun shines all the time. So by and large, most Americans live in places where the sun doesn't shine as bright and the wind doesn't blow as hard as it does where there aren't any people, between North Dakota's border with Canada and the West Texas border with Mexico. We built a nice, modern electrical grid. Within 5 or 10 years, we'd have the cheapest electricity in the world, and you could manufacture everything in America again. We could bring tons of jobs back here. We know, you know, in this town, that 2/3 of all the new jobs created in America since, well, I stopped checking the year I got elected president. Since then, 2/3 of all the jobs come from small business. And the one thing that has not recovered in this economy is small business lending. Now, when President Obama signed that bill, the Dodd-Frank bill, it was designed to keep the big banks in New York and elsewhere from ever wrecking Main Street again. It's done that. But by accident almost, it's made it too difficult for a lot of small businesses to get loans, even though America has a law that says any bank that's got an ATM machine in any community has to consider the people in that community for small business loans. Hillary is the only person you can vote for who said, we're going to relax these rules to get back to community lending and start small businesses again. And it will revolutionize America so we can grow together. Then you got to make sure everybody can participate. We got to redignify skills training in this country. You don't have to have a 4-year degree to do some jobs that pay above a minimum wage, above an average wage, high wage, if they get the right skill training. Tomorrow morning, we could fill 1 million more high-paying jobs in America if the people were trained to do them where the jobs are available. And she has proposed to make all community college tuition free, to make all 4-year colleges, public college tuition free for people with family incomes of $125,000 or less, and to make it debt free everywhere, public and private colleges all across America. And for the young people here, to give them a way to pay back the debt that's already been accrued. There's something wrong in the country where the only loan you can't refinance when interest rates go down is a college loan. I literally had this heart-rending conversation with a woman that I do business with. I buy jeans and other things from her, and have done so for more than 10 years at a store near our home in New York. In a little town, I knew her son just graduated from one of our state colleges. I said, how's your boy doing? She said, oh, great. He made good grades. He's going to get a good job. I said, does he have any student debt? She said, yeah, quite a bit. What's the interest rate? 9%. I said, do you have a home mortgage? She said, of course I do. Did you refinance it when the interest rates went down? Sure. What's your interest rate on the floor? We're supposed to be a country that's in the future business. Why would we saddle our young people with a college loan with twice the interest rate for the parents pay? And then let people pay it back as a small percentage of their income. And if a young person wants to borrow money to start a business, your obligation under her plan to repay that loan would stop for 3 years while you got the business up and running. These are the kinds of things we ought to be talking about. We can lift this country off like a rocket if we do the right thing. And I want to say one word about health care. I have heard in every debate, Hillary's opponents say we ought to repeal that health care law. It's just terrible. No, it's not. No. Since that law came into effect, almost 25 million more Americans are covered with health insurance. That's right. You don't want to get rid of that. Since that law came into effect for the first time, 100% of us are better off because nobody can be denied health insurance because they got a pre-existing condition. Since that law came into effect, families can insure their children on family policies till they're 26 years old. And there's college debt problem out there, that's a big deal, right? So what we ought to do is fix what's wrong with it.
That's right.
What's wrong is that if you're just a little bit above the subsidy limit, the co-pays, deductibles, and drugs and premiums are too high. And if you're a small business person, you're just a little bit above that subsidy limit, the cost is too high. And Hillary has proposed a plan to let people 55 and older buy into Medicare and give other people a public option so every single American, including those people, have affordable access to health care. That is the right decision. Now, the other thing I'd like to say is, if we're going to grow together, we've got to live together. This is, as we all know, a majority-minority community. And Florida's the only majority-minority county, but it's diverse. And you have to live together and work together. Right? Well, that's what we got to do in America. And I think it's really important that we pass some sort of sensible immigration reform so that people will have a path to citizenship without jumping the line, and so that they will be legalized. As she pointed out in that last debate, almost all immigrants in America, whether they're documented or not, are working or are in school. And she kind of kicked her opponent. She said, you know, more than half of them are actually paying income taxes. We need to do this, and every older person should be for this for a simple reason. One of the reasons that we're going to be able to save Social Security and save Medicare is that we have more younger people working and paying into it. That's the way to go. That's the way it works. Last thing I want to say is, we have to be inclusive when it comes to religion, too. That Florida has 1 million Muslims. We have had 2 incidents of what you might call episodic terror lately. One in San Bernardino, California, and one here in Orlando, Florida. In the case of California, those people never went to the ISIS land and got trained. They were converted over the internet. In the case of Orlando, based on at least what's been published in the newspaper, there was no contact with anybody. A deeply troubled young man just basically said he was inspired by the idea of killing a lot of people. Now, what I want to say is, you can talk to anybody who works in this. We cannot possibly hope to prevent these things without the support, help, and aggressive involvement of American Muslims who love freedom, hate terror, want to be in this country, and do not want those kind of things to happen. So, that's what stronger together means. So you got anger on the one side and answers on the other. You got resentment on the one side and empowerment on the other. You got endless political conflict and name-calling on the one side and the promise of real cooperation on the other. You got walls on the one side and bridges on the other. I have been doing this a long time. I got tickled when Linda said I was an adopted black president. In 1977, almost 40 years ago, when I was Attorney General of Arkansas, about 1%, or no, that's not true, about 2% of the state bar was African American. 25% of my staff was. I had the most integrated staff in the country. You know what? They were good. They were all good. They did their job well. They worked like the devil. 10% of the bar back then were women. Now most young lawyers are women. 10%. 20% of my professional staff and 40% of my African American professional staff were women. Why? Because they were good. And it turned out that when you get together different people with different perspectives, different experience, different understanding, we're all better off.
That's right.
And you prove it here every day just by showing up and living together and working together, cheering your teams together, educating your kids together. That's what this whole thing's about. I am telling you, I have been doing this half my life now. I spent half my life trying to find people a job, help people start or save a business, help people save a farm, help people educate their kids, solve healthcare problems. I've done this every place in the world today where people are working together. Good things are happening. Everywhere where people are just rubbing, solving, open wounds, you might win an election or two, but nothing good ever happens. I think it's time to make something good happen.
Yes.
Now, the other day I called a friend of ours in Texas. The guy's been a friend of Hillary's and mine for 40 years. And I love this guy because he's always happy. And I said, this thing is like becoming way too heavy. Give me something funny to say that captures what's going on. And he didn't miss a beat. He said, if you don't want somebody to drive a truck off a cliff, do not give them the keys. Well, what I want to say is, what we need is somebody to get a big old truck, open the back door, put everybody in America in it. And I mean everybody.
Maybe I'll see you tomorrow.
Hillary had me go down to West Virginia where they think President Obama is terrible because he won't say global warming is the Chinese hoax. If you live in Florida, you know better because you see what's happening at the coast. And they don't like Hillary because she agrees with him, and they don't like me even though they voted for me twice. Because I agree with them. And I said I was sitting down here to tell you that America needs you too.
That's right.
We have to do this together. So you vote for whoever you want to. You think you can get the economy you had 50 years ago, have at it. You can. And if you think you should get the society you had 50 years ago, which is a way of saying, move me up on the totem pole, move somebody else down, you're wrong. Hillary wants to tear down the totem pole.
That's right.
You can demonstrate against this boo and say whatever you want, but if she wins, she's coming back for you to take you along in the future. I confess, sometimes a little riled up when they say some of the things they say about her. Here's what I know. When I met her, I thought that she had a better feel for how to make things better than anybody ever seen. And we were around all these people, you know, we all thought we were smart when we were young. And they were a bunch of good talkers. And Hillary always let everybody else talk first, and she said, that sounds good, what are we going to do about it? This country needs, what are we going to do about it, President? Before she ever got out of law school, she went to South Carolina to help get African-American teenagers out of adult prison. She went to Texas, in deep South Texas, to register Mexican-Americans who had been citizens for generations and still didn't vote, couldn't vote, were systematically isolated. Then, after we got out of law school, she went to Alabama and posed as a housewife trying to get her son into a segregated school that was being advertised as an academy, like it was some sort of legit deal, and claiming tax credit. And she said, look, I just want to know this. If I put my son in this school, will it be an all-white school? And I said, absolutely. She had him. They lost their tax exemption. Schools all across the South. And we began to start doing it right, together. She went to Massachusetts to find out how there were so many kids in the census that weren't in the schools. And she found out why. Because they had some kind of physical disability. But the law says we should look beyond people's disabilities to their abilities and give them a chance to develop what they brought. We were in Jacksonville not very long ago, you know, before we went away here. And I looked into the eyes of this beautiful young boy. And he said, "Want to know why I'm for Hillary?" And I said, sure. He said, I'm autistic.
Oh.
You shouldn't make fun of me.
Oh, right.
I'm smart. I just don't deal with the world very well right now. And she doesn't make fun of me. I said, no, she knows how smart you are. I said, you know, Hillary helped start an autism caucus in the Senate and was the first candidate 8 years ago to have a position on this. But look, this is a big deal. Hillary met with chiefs of police in cities that have good race relations, good community relations. And they said to her, this is amazing, they said, look, we're all for body cameras. We don't mind being held accountable. But what we really need is more mental health. He said, we don't have any community mental health to treat these people. We need drug treatment, drug prevention, and mental health. So she's the only one you can go for that is actually giving us a way to have mental health services available to everybody. So that's what I want to say. So it's not just don't give the other guy the keys. Give her the keys. And she'll put us all in a truck and drive America to a new mountaintop together. God bless you. Thank you.
Do an encore. I don't think there'll be an encore. Let's get out of here.